Hello and welcome back to building a space elevator once again. And we're on episode or time lapse number 25. So we're getting close to the original space elevator time lapse build episodes, but I think I'm going to surpass that one as we're not getting as glitchy as it was for that time lapse and that build previously. I mean, it does take a bit of tries to load up the game, but it still works out okay. Initially, when I loaded up and was working on the solar panels here, it was glitchy. It was very rubber bandy like a little bit. So it was like vibrations a little bit controlling the character. That wasn't the greatest thing in the world, but maybe my computer is just overheating a little bit. Who knows? But here's the numbers. My machine is on jet engines right now. So it is what it is. The heat's probably pretty high too. So I gotta get some kind of big old fan to cool it off if I can. Alright, so the main attraction of today's episode is actually not the solar panels. It is actually the rebuild and the restructuring and redesigning of our assemblers, refineries, and things like that to make it a little bit more efficient. So now we have a bit more of an efficient assembler system where it doesn't clog up as crazy as it did before. And of course I could add more to it if I want to. So we'll talk about that in a second because I want to walk through this craziness first. And when I say this craziness, this solar panel is so big. I don't even know why I made it so big. I should have stuck with hydrogen engines as mentioned in the comments. I have plenty of ice to drill out anyways, and would have saved us from having too many blocks too. So it's a give or take, because one, you're drilling a bigger hole, and one, you're building too much blocks. So it can or cannot cause an issue down the line with lag and everything like that. But I'm okay with it so far. Okay, so initially and before the episode, or yeah, before this episode, this thing was tilted upwards more aligned with the base. So it is straight with the base, but with the ground it wasn't so great looking. So I decided to put it on some hinges right over here. Biggest problem with that is that, and I'll be honest, it clanged out many times. That's why the time lapse may or may not be a little bit funky with the cuts of where it happened, because I got a little frustrated and decided not to like really keep hitting record and every time it kind of broke and had to honestly relog from the backup and everything like that. Not necessarily backup, but just F5 to basically reload the save file from previous times. So initially I did drop it off of the grid itself, which was okay, but it slid a little too far back towards the front, or in our case where we're looking at left. But when it fell with the wheels that I put on there, it was a soft landing, not much broke, so that was a good thing. So there's no way to get it close to the hinge that way, so I had to enlist the help of this specific ship with the two large atmospheric thrusters. And I put a landing gear in the bottom. It broke off obviously, but we put it right here, and then we could lift off a little bit. And then I kept on trying to put it on the hinge. I had the hinge on this block, and then I had the hinge head on this block so I could attach it. I was able to kind of get it lined up and everything like that pretty well, but once I hit attach, boom, clang happened. So I might have some clips of the issues. I think I clanged it out like maybe 10 times, so that's why it was a little frustrating to kind of get back into the game to have the other camera record the time lapse. So you may see a little skipping in it as well. But yeah, this thing flew that way, that thing flew this way. One time it flew this way and crashed into the rail and completely crashed the game. So I had to back that up a bit more. And then I realized that's not going to work well after maybe 10 times. As much as I try to get as lined up as perfectly as possible and attaching it, it doesn't work. It's just gonna clang out because this thing's heavy, and plus it was on a ship that was having a landing gear on it, so could have contributed to the clang also. So instead of doing that, I put merge blocks, because merge blocks tend to be a little bit forgiving at times. So merge block onto the solar panel, merge block onto the hinge, and not as crazy of a clang. What happened really was that the landing gear on the ship broke, and also broke a little bit of solar panels right here as well. So that was the biggest problem with that. Another problem with it initially is that I built it to kind of be under the ground. So as you see here, half block is towards the top, not the bottom. So even though there's clearance on the bottom, but that invisible kind of block was on the ground, it couldn't convert it to a ship. So that was another issue I had. So I had to clear out as much as I can that was touching the ground. And then once that happened, clanged down a few times, reloaded, finally put in the merge blocks, and then this worked out perfectly fine. And now you'll see that it's gathering a decent amount of sun. Some are 3 bars, some are 2 bars. The sun's right over here. We just slept basically in this case. But it is recharging our batteries pretty well. Look at that. All at about 3 bars. But we will be depleting in 4 hours until the sun hits the afternoon time, where we'll soak up the sun on each and every solar panel. But it's not too bad. We did run out of ice. I had to turn off the hydrogen engines. I just started the pistons for it, so our ice production is a lot more now. As you see here, 499k plus in here. So we can turn back the hydrogen engines if we need to, but right now we have a sufficient amount of batteries, so we should be good in that sense. All right, so the next piece is, of course, the assemblers and refineries. So the assemblers used to live right here on top of the refineries, and I didn't realize I put 3 tiers of assemblers upwards, and all with speed mods. So that was producing a lot of our things, but it was connected to the refinery. So every time it was refined, iron, silicon, nickel, and whatever the case is, it goes right into the assembler and clog up the system. So we definitely had to move it out and separate them. So I got rid of the assemblers first and placed them over there, but I replaced it with the refineries, and all these are yield mods as well. With a little bit of design. Actually, I should move these two to point down to make it look a little bit better. But this whole thing, all yield mods. It did need a little bit of gold, but it worked out. And now we're refining a lot of stone and a lot of iron as well. And that's from our mining pit in iron station number 2. But other than that, we have our assemblers here. So we have 2 assemblers pointing out right over here, which give or take a bad placement for it, but right now should be okay. So these are my quote-unquote opened ones. So I can build and produce whatever we want in these. And they shouldn't be clogging up as well. So they're pretty far away from the assembler, or the refineries, I should say. And yeah, it's not clogging up anymore. So that's the best thing to do with that. We have on this end here 2 assemblers each, one right here, one down here, and these are all done with some sorters, so we can prevent certain things from clogging up as well. So this one here is whitelisting 2 things, nickel and iron, so we can create what we have here labeled as motors, and this one as motors as well. So these 2 assemblers with the speed mods are producing motors, and it is going to dump it out whitelist over here. Well, actually, we didn't even whitelist it. We didn't have to do anything here, or blacklist it. It was just going to go through anyways. In that sense, we didn't even need a sorter, but well, technically yes, so that it could go in one direction, not both directions. And the next one is the small steel tube, which I understand is just all iron anyway, so I didn't really need a whitelist it and everything like that. Same thing with construction components and interior plates, but did it all the same anyways. So this sorter here is whitelisting iron ingots only, and the same with the rest of these 3 up here. Bottom ones don't have any whitelist or blacklist, but That way, just kind of prevent it from clogging up the system, just in case. And of course, it looks a little odd, so I could potentially put 2 more in each one of these cargoes on the next episode as well, or whenever I have free time. So it could produce a little bit more. But of course, this production is going to run a lot faster than our gathering of resources. Potentially. Well, actually right now, yeah. Yeah, we pretty much got all the refinery done with the iron and everything like that. So we need to automate our iron production or retrieval, I should say. Very, very soon. Because yeah, we are out of resources once again, but we are still producing a ton of steel plates. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things, 5 assemblers of steel plates, 2 motors, 2 steel tubes, small steel tubes, 2 construction components, 2 interior plates, and of course we have the 2 open assemblers. So that was the main focus of today, and we pretty much ramped up production even more from here. So other than that, the mining needed to happen. So I tried to do the hand mining, the where did that go? Why did that fall off? This was mining at one point in time. I don't know why it fell, but it did, and now it's gonna be a little bit hard to pick it up. It was sitting right here on the collectors, and these collectors are slightly shifting to the right a little bit for some reason. But yeah, we dug a big hole here to gather as much iron as we can. Very, very insufficient way of doing it. Or ineffective way of doing it. I mean, it helps gather it, but it's still too slow. Gonna have to do some kind of drilling rig over here to gather all this iron relatively quickly. I might just do the custom turret controller and everything like that. And just manually control that way to gather all the iron in that sense. And it's not too much iron right there anyway, so it's not too bad. We should be gathering as much as we can there anyways. I mean, maybe we just do some kind of rotating one above here, making a even bigger hole if we need to, but trying to avoid making too big of a hole. Okay, so other than that, yeah, we'll have to work on some kind of drill system to get the rest of that iron. But other than that, we're pretty much done walking through the main base. We did do a little bit of mining in Iron Base 2 and also the welding rig itself. So let's just head to Iron Base number 2 first. All right, so we're here at Iron Base number 2. Nothing's really changed here, as these are the steel plate production, and it kind of loops back into the system for steel plates. So this takes the iron ingots right here, and it's supposed to loop back the steel plates into here or the main base or whatever the case is. I don't know why it's not. We'll just empty that out just in case we need to do that. And that is looking decent. Oh yeah, so it did clog it up. Okay, so that wasn't a good thing. So it prevented the iron from going through, so that is definitely a problem. So it's supposed to, I guess we could do this. This is whitelisting steel plates. Yeah, so that's fine. So let's just drain all then to empty out the steel plates for this large cargo container. So then the iron can go through this way, although we probably don't even have any more iron left. Actually, we do. Yeah, we do. Not sure why it's not going over there. Because this sorter is supposed to allow for iron ingots, which I'm not going to do drain all, obviously, because then I want it to also be in other assemblers. So the drain all shouldn't affect this one at all. Yeah, it shouldn't. Not sure exactly why that happened, but okay, that's fine. Yeah, so other than that, we created another mining stick here those 3 drill mining sticks to go down to gather the iron. And remember how it was just a little bit of iron right here? No, it's a lot of iron down here. Look how far we got. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pistons, and it's still more up front. So there's a lot of iron here, which is insane. But of course, we can manipulate this with a custom turret controller, but I kind of like doing it all manual for some reason. It just makes life a little bit easier. So yeah, rotor iron, kind of like the step for it, and we just easily change the velocity. Ooh, let's move this way. That may be just a little too much. I can't even see. That should be a bit too much, but it should be okay. Let's just do it. Now piston irons, let's just do that. Piston iron. Save that grouping, and we're just gonna do 0.1. And that's just gonna go forward, get more of the iron that we need. And it's gonna go straight down here. So this one, okay, so it ends roughly around here. We're gonna end up gathering a ton of stone. So not too bad, but lots of resources in terms of iron, so that's a good thing. We still gotta get rid of these things here. Totally forgot about this. I cut the drills initially instead of turning them off, but also just left it there, so that's not a good thing. We'll kind of get rid of that sooner or later, but that's it for Iron Base 2. Let's go to the Ice Lake. All right, here at the Ice Lake, nothing's changed much at all, except the fact that the hydrogen tanks are not as full as they used to be. Well, it's getting there, because we just gather all the iron and everything like that as well. We should have did some kind of sorters for these large cargo containers to suck up the ice, because ice is going everywhere, and these things have a lot of components in them too, as you see, which is not exactly what I wanted, but should be all right. So I'm moving these things slowly forward. So once we run out of ice, I move 1 piston forward. Looks like we should have a decent amount of ice right this moment, because we have nothing eating the ice in terms of hydrogen engines and such, I believe. I could be wrong, but yeah, it looks like ice is right here, stand still, not moving. I could gather just a tiny bit more ice just for fun. And I did add this gyroscope with a override. It's still a little bouncy, as you see there, but should be okay. All right, let's just move 1 more forward. Hopefully we don't clog up our whole entire base and stuff like that. So we'll just do 0.1, move it forward, gather some more ice, and get our hydrogens up and more filled up. I mean, it's gonna be completely filled up relatively soon anyways, but yeah, so it looks like our ice is not gathering in these cargo containers whatsoever. But that's pretty much it. I'm just moving it forward, get a little bit more ice. And this is a nice little boxy landing space. Could kind of make an underground base here if I wanted to. We'll think about that later down the line if we can, because I don't even know if this thing's gonna crash or not relatively soon. All right, last stop is the welding rig. All right, we're here at the welding rig, and I keep saying welding wig. Welding rig. Say it 2 times fast, I guess, right? So it looks a little different if you haven't noticed. I added a little bit more of solar panels just to be able to charge up this thing a little bit better. And also there's an air vent, an oxygen tank, an O2H2 generator, as well as a cockpit. And we did that because we are pretty much in space and we need oxygen here. So just as a safeguard, built the oxygen tank, O2H2 system, so we can get into the cockpit and not worry about our oxygen. I mean, we have a bottle, but it quickly runs out anyway, so we don't have to worry too much about that since we have that cockpit now. But it looks pretty decent. I'm not sure exactly what that looks like, but it's kind of symmetrical and everything. I should make it a little asymmetrical in a sense, but it should be okay. Definitely need a lot more thrusters if I want this thing to run forward with hydrogen. I think I add 2 more, 1 here and 1 on the other side, but we'll leave it as that for now. So what changes up there and also in the front of the welder? So I did find that without this block right here, it was welding up some of the pipes in front somehow. Once in a while, wasn't always. So I had to create some kind of weird obstacle to kind of prevent it from ever building it again. But of course, one way of avoiding that was to turn this welder off as well. So could have done that too. All right, so this thing has been on. It did get stuck once in a while, but we are pretty far. Where Space Kobo is 43 kilometers away now. So what is that going to be in terms of distance from the base? It is 40 kilometers. So we made it 40 kilometers from the base. Technically, 40 kilometers going outwards would have made it into space without gravity, I think. That should be the number. But in a technical standpoint, in terms of the surface level versus where we are, we're only at 10 kilometers away. So from the planet surface to space, we're not that far. We still got 30 or so more to go, I think, in terms of kilometers. But our projection is going to reach up there, so not too bad. I feel like we should be able to reach the moon, but I got to really stop building more in terms of the base to save on the amount of blocks I can build forward, I think. Maybe this game will survive me going pretty far and making a space station. Maybe. The space station probably isn't going to be a significant station. It's probably going to be something small because I still need to make another elevator system to connect into the moon. So hopefully we'll make it there. If not, then all this is for nothing. But like I said before, it is playing out a little bit. It is taking a little bit of time to load up the game, or several tries. And once I try to load it up, it crashes and I have to load it again. Sometimes I have to restart my machine just to get it to load. I don't know what's going on with it, but definitely is because of the amount of blocks we have here. That's without saying, basically. All right, so that's pretty much it for today's time lapse and context. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, comment down below, and of course, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.